the interesting thing is that I had been thinking about this, and it was something that came out from the Institute of Philanthropy workshop, that everybody who is a philanthropist, I would say about 90% of them, it happened from childhood. That's what comes into you from childhood, that there's this sort of awareness that you need to be aware of other people. And either that, or you've been affected by a major cause and you want to do something about it. But I think in my case, my mother was a very strong influence on me. She was a Dutch lady who had a very rough time during the war, and came to England, married my father, and spent a lot of time working for the consulate, looking after Dutch waifs and strays that arrived in London, or Manchester in fact. And sort of looking back, that's really those sort of core values that you get as a kid, and examples that you get from your parents, I think is very important. And certainly, I think is what shaped me in this area. And so then, if I look back on various things I did, I just went to a grammar school, convent grammar school, that I don't often admit to. And you know, they're always sort of collecting for black babies and what have you, but it all goes to the new school. And very dedicated nuns. Some of them weren't great, but many of them were very dedicated. So that comes into your life. And I think things I looked at university, I remember at the end of term I saw all this food that people were going to throw out, and so I just put notices on all the notice boards saying, if you're not going to use this food, can you put it in these boxes and we'll take it around to the old people's home. And I had two whole carloads of food that we took. So I went to university, did a degree in environmental sciences that no one had heard of at the time, or couldn't even spell it at the time, and did pretty average jobs. Then I spent about 10 years in advertising, then pan-European advertising. Got a bit frustrated with advertising because it was just the part. I was told to sort of just do the advertising, and in fact it was whole marketing that I was interested in. So I did probably one of the best things I ever did, which was go to INSEAD at Fontainebleau and did my MBA there, and met a fantastic group of people, many of whom have stayed my closest friends, and also learned a lot and give yourself confidence that, you know, I might not be a finance director, but I know what a discounted cash flow is and I'm pushed. So just ask them what their rate is, and they don't know quite how little I know, but they're not sure, which is always good. Then I did various corporate marketing jobs, went out with Heineken, American Express. Actually, one thing I did at American Express, again, you sort of look back at things that touched you. There was something on the television about, I think it was floods in the Sudan, and I tried to get through to the DEC, the Disasters Emergency Committee, and I couldn't get through on the phones. And the next day, I went down to the telephone. I happened to have a meeting with the telephone people, the guy that ran the telephone centre for American Express, and I thought, look, there's like 150 guys here on telephones, and they're not using them at night. So I forgot, the guy's name was Gordon. I said, look, couldn't we just open these telephone lines? And so I rang up DEC and I said, look, you know, we've got these telephone lines and we're being sure we can get people in, and if you've got another appeal, I couldn't get through. And so 2 days later we had the whole of the American Express telephone answering people, and some of the executive committee and answering the phones, and that was a first. And yeah, American Express were great, and they made a donation themselves, and we got people some food, and we got them taxis home in Brighton. And I think we raised about £54,000 that night. Wow. So I think there was something in there in my head saying, when you see something, don't just go, isn't that terrible, do something about it. So then I got a bit bored with corporate life. I got made redundant more times than most people who had hot dinners, which was a bit hairy at times, but all good learning. And then I left the corporate world and did a bit of consulting, and I was a hopeless consultant. I got very cross with clients who didn't do what I told them to do. So these things happen. And then I think it was the end of 1995, my husband and I